What's up, guys? We are in week 3 of this podcast that we are calling Continued Conversations, The Race. So we are doing a series with the Crossing students on Wednesday nights called The Race, and this idea of how do we run the race of following Jesus well? How do we keep the faith, as Paul puts it in Timothy? How do we get to the end and say, I finished the race? And so we're talking about 5 different things that include that. You've already heard about gathering purposefully. You've heard about connecting deeply. And today we're going to be tackling this idea of giving generously. So that's kind of a weird topic for students, but it's okay because I brought 2 juniors along with me. So let me introduce them to you first. But we have over here the lovely Kaylee Adams. Kaylee, say hi to the people.
Hello.
Nice.
Oh, that's it.
Always great introductions.
Hi, guys.
So, Kaylee, you're a junior.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how long have you and your family been at the Crossing?
I think about like 8-9 years.
8-9 years?
I think so.
Because you started coming when you were in Kids Crossing.
Yeah. Lily was in kindergarten, so yeah, about 8-9 years.
Wow, that's crazy. So you were in like 3rd, 4th grade when you started coming? Ish? Second grade. I was wrong. I can't do math. This is the second video we've recorded where I've realized I can't do math on the fly. So that's great. We're going to move away from Kaylee because she's making sure I don't do math. Emerson Thiemann, who we heard from your sister last episode, Stella Thiemann. But hey, you are a junior.
Yes.
How long have you and your family been coming to the Crossing?
So we had just moved back from Seattle, and then which was like what, 4 or 5 years ago now, and then that's when we started coming.
How did I not know you came from Seattle?
Dude, my mom was in the military. I moved from everywhere.
But you know I'm from Washington. How has this never come up?
I've told you about it. You just have Alzheimer's.
Okay,
or
it's just
something.
roast. It's just roast Rob episode today. Okay, so you've been coming for 4 or 5 years, which means that would have put you what? Probably 7th grade, 8th grade.
6th
coming
grade.
in?
So maybe I can't do
every
math
time.
either.
Every
sorry.
time. 6th grade. So you
6
guys have
years.
been around the block for a while. You've been with the Crossing students for a while. Okay, so I love that. This is a super random question I'm going to ask you, and it's because a buddy of mine asked me this. So just to be an icebreaker. So you guys know what Venmo is, right?
Yeah.
Like Venmo, it's how you send money back and forth.
I use Zelle.
You use Zelle? Okay, I use Zelle.
Oh
Is it
my.
Zelle or
Thank-
Zelly?
It's definitely not Zelly.
All right, fair. Venmo, Cash App. Anyway, a buddy of mine asked me this. He said, with no context at all, if I sent you a Venmo request for X amount of money, whatever the total is, what is the limit that you would send me without asking any questions?
Okay, that's easy and hard at the same time because
Okay.
it's just like a random person. I'd give them $5.
But it's not like a random person. Like me and you are friends. Okay, so like
Yeah.
think about your friends. If your friend said, hey, didn't even say anything, they just sent you a request that said, Caleb requested blank amount of money with no context, how much are you giving?
Anywhere like from like $100 and lower.
Okay, so it's under $100.
Under
and you would-
$100, 100%.
No questions
If it was
asked.
one of my family members, it'd be over $100 for sure. But I don't make as much money as you. I make like $0.
You don't know what I make.
So I don't have a
Kaylee.
job.
Fair enough. Kaylee, what about you? If a friend asked you, just sent you a Venmo request, what's the amount of money you would send with no questions asked?
I would definitely have questions, but like, I would try to ignore them. Maybe like $20 so they can eat or something.
So Emerson would give a lot more than you.
Caleb's
$20 so
the
they
homie.
can eat.
Caleb's
Okay.
the homie.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Like my thought was, there's a limit of, I think it's probably after 50. Like I'm gonna text you and be like, "Hey, you good?" But I'll
Well,
still send it. But
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'll have
With
questions
no
afterwards.
questions?
But with no questions asked, like, yeah,
Maybe
$20. Like
Yeah.
you got no money. You put your order in at McDonald's already, and you have to pay. Like, yeah, sure, I'll Zelle you $20. I don't know.
Zelly.
I'll Zelly you $20. So anyway, we're talking about money today. So I'm excited. Money gets like an interesting conversation when it comes to church, I think. So I'm intrigued to hear teenagers' opinions on it. So I'm going to ask you this first before we get into this. What does the Bible say about money? From what you guys understand. I mean, you guys are 16, 17 years old, so you've lived life 16, 17 years. What do you know that the Bible says about money?
Well, for me, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I know it says somewhere in there about like 10%, right? You're supposed to give 10%. It's like a tithe if it's 10%. Anything over that is
an offering?
An offering, yeah. That's
interesting.
That's as deep as my
Learning
Okay,
knowledge
Kaylee,
goes.
do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So for you guys, it's the value of the money that differentiates a tithe from an offering.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Wait.
Like if it's
Well,
over 10%, then it's an
10%
offering.
of the income. I think it's all like under the umbrella of offering, but it's
Okay.
a tithe if it's
Yeah.
Okay.
10%.
So can you explain
Under
what a tithe is?
It's like a recurring amount given to the church, I would say.
Okay. So it's good. I love that you brought up the idea of tithe, because that's probably the biggest question that comes up when it comes with money and like the church, of like, what does God want and what is a tithe essentially? And a tithe is explained as obviously everything we receive is from God, right? Like he provided us with the job, he provides us with the money. So that 10%, it's supposed to be like the first 10% we give back to him, because he asks us to. He says, you give me back 10% and you can have the rest for what you need. And that's just, it becomes a trust thing, right? Of like, I'm going to trust you at 10% and know that I can live off of that 90%. So that's where the tithe comes in. And then there's also offerings, right? That like, we'll get into this in a little bit, but like kid needs to go to camp, it's $500. People give offerings to help cover some of those costs. So I love that. So you guys have a base understanding of what scripture says about money. So when you think of the church and money and giving, what comes to mind?
Oof. That's a good one. They always talk about it on Sunday. Every time on Sunday, it's someone on the stage will go, hey, you know, this is how you can give. But I know my parents give. I don't know how much, but I know they do give. That's as depth as I can go. I don't know.
That's good. That's good. So Kaylee, what comes to mind for you when I say church and money? Nothing?
Say it again.
What
Like the
comes to
question.
mind
Yeah.
when I say church, money, and giving? What are the first like thoughts that come into your head?
Like offering and like tithing.
Okay. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Why do you guys feel like giving to the church is actually important? Do you feel like it's important? And then why?
Oh. For me, like, it's 100% important. Like, I think the only way that we can, like, function is if we have that money, right? And I think it's super easy for it to get, like, blindsided by the fact that, like, you can say, like, oh, it's a mega church, they have all the money they need, but it's still, how are you going to uphold all this production? How are you going to uphold all the people? How are you going to do all this if you don't have that money, right? And so I think it's important that people can understand how important it is and how much of an impact it does make. Like, we always talk about our partners, whatever. Like, I always hear Project 150. That's as far as I can get, but I remember Project 150. There's a lot more than that.
Project 150 and Project 150 and
And that's
Project
about it.
120
Exactly.
and 130
Shout out
and the projects.
Project 150.
Shout out to the projects.
All of them.
Okay, so Kaylee, why do you feel like giving is important?
I think it's important because like it can also provide for people if they need it. Like the church can help with that and you can help with that as well. And it also, like what you said, like it helps keep the church running and so that we can just grow and help anyone we need to.
That's good. I like that. So,
Can add on.
yeah, go for it.
So I think that's a really good point, but I also think it's like money helps people discover Jesus, like you were saying, like
Yeah.
to go to camp, right? That's a
Or
big deal. Like
missions.
that's something that's super close to my heart, and that helped me a lot in my walk. So I think that makes like it just creates a new atmosphere for
That's
people.
good, and it helps provide an answer for some people that need it. Like sometimes money is an answer for people
Mhm.
because that's their direct need, and I think that's important to acknowledge. And what's crazy is you mentioned the partners, and tithing isn't just something like that people do. Like we as a crossing also do that. Like
Yeah.
there is a specific amount of anything that we get given to us, we then immediately give back to our partners. And we send out to people like AIM over in Cambodia, to missionaries like Melody over in Poland, to Project 150, to Casa de Luz. Like all these different things are we give money back to it as well because we think it's important as a church that if we're going to ask people to give, we can also give back, and that's intended. But I think there's this level of giving that's more than just providing a financial need. Like it does something in you. Have you ever felt like you've had a moment where you gave back to someone or something?
Like in general?
Like in general, yeah. What would that be? What instance are you thinking of?
Like money-wise?
Sure.
Or, okay. Like you give someone money and then like they return it or like even it out. In a way, or
Okay.
what do you, yeah.
A little bit. What were you thinking of?
For some reason, I'm the guy who always gives the homework answers.
The
so I don't
homework? What does
Yeah,
that
dude,
mean?
Everyone, it's so people will text you. They'll be like, "Hey, do you have the answers for
And then you, like, you
5.3?"
send
And
them.
I'm
So you
always
just
the guy
give
that sends it.
answers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm helping.
So
I'm
what
helping my
what I've learned is
community.
if I need help with homework, go to Emerson, and if I need anything over $20, also go to Emerson. So
Yeah, pretty
that's
much.
what I've learned so much so
No,
far
but-
in this podcast.
Well, Robert told me not to do this, but he said don't go into serving. But I think that is a big part
Okay.
for me. I think
Mhm.
when I like kids camp this year, I used to be super involved, and then I kind of fell away from that. I don't know why. I just wasn't feeling as fulfilled anymore. And I came back for kids camp this year, and it was like amazing. Like I just felt like so much energy, like being able to give back. Like, and I don't want to sound like a cocky jerk, but like it was super awesome to see everybody, all the kids running around, just trying to bring as much energy as I could, and seeing like kids' days get better felt really awesome. So
You've been serving since 4th grade, right? So you also probably feel a little bit of that. When it comes to serving,
Mm-hmm.
what does serving make you feel? Like, how does it fill you? Like, because that is giving of your time.
Yeah.
So how does that fill Kaylee? How does that fill you?
Yeah, it fills me because you can see the kids grow with God. Like kids camp,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I saw my kids grow and they grew with me and like they trusted me with stuff. And I think that's really important. So like if they ever need anything, they can come to me, and it fills me because I know like I'm moving through those kids' lives. And like I serve with the 4 and 5-year-olds, just making sure they're okay, you know, having fun, keeping them occupied while their parents go to church, and just making sure they're having fun makes me have fun, and I play with them, and then it just makes my day better.
So one of the things I'm hearing from you is that the reason serving kind of fills you and those moments fill you is because you're seeing an immediate response to it and you're seeing fruit from it. Do you think that might be one of the reasons why teenagers have a hard time giving monetarily, like with money, to certain things because they don't see the immediate fruit from it?
Yeah, I think it's like I'm giving money, but like where is it going? And you don't see that right away, or like for a while you just don't know. But serving, you see it almost immediately, or like in a little bit of time.
I think with like money, especially for kids, like we don't have a lot of money. Like I think I
Yeah.
have 43 cents in my bank account. I don't know. That's a complete.
So 4
fabrication,
pennies
but-
belongs to the church. That's 10%.
No, it's like 4 point whatever, but
my.
it doesn't matter.
Did that math?
No, but I think it's super important that like you can understand that it does go somewhere, and I think that's why it's super awesome that the crossing does tell us like where it's going. Like I feel like there's times where churches will be like, hey, like we were at camp and they sent around bags and they're kind of like, hey, give us money, and we're like, for what? And they go, oh, we're gonna shoot a movie. Oh, okay, sounds good. But I think the crossing is like you can see stuff happening, like the trip to Mexico. I mean, that's all funded by members of the crossing, and you can see like houses being built. It might not be immediate, but you see the effects.
That's good. So I think one of the other effects that I wanted to bring up with Kaylee specifically, I mean, you have 2 sisters,
Yes.
all in middle school and high school now. That's crazy. Like your youngest is a Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney's a 6th grader this year.
I know.
That's nuts.
I know.
So sending all 3 of you guys to summer camp is extremely expensive.
Yes.
Like for your family, obviously. So one of the things we try to do with families that are bigger is offer scholarships, and that comes from the giving. So
Mhm.
that is one of the ways that when people give to the church, it's immediately poured back into somebody. Like you said, you're seeing your kids change at kids camp because you've been serving with them for so long,
Mhm.
and people are giving to send other kids to camp, and we're seeing life change happen at camp.
Yeah.
So it's like there is that immediate response of like, okay, well, I'm going to give my money to this, and I'm seeing life change happen, and I'm seeing these things happen. One of the reasons I asked you to be on this podcast, I didn't even tell you this, so was because you got a CIY challenge card that has to do
don't
with
even.
money. So talk to me about your CIY challenge card. What
Oh.
is the CIY challenge card, and what did yours say?
Okay, so the CIY challenge card is the like, if you open it, you do it. That's the rule. And basically, they gave it to us at the what was it, like the 4th day?
The
Yeah,
last
last
one.
night. Last
Last
night.
night, whatever. They give it to you and they say, "Here's a card. If you open it, or our rule as a church, if you open it, you have to do it." And so my leader Kevin, he hands us around in small groups, and he hands me one, and I'm like, "No, I don't want that one," and I want the other one. So I grab the other one, and
That's funny. I didn't know
Should've
that.
you know,
kept it.
and so then I open it, and it's like I have to raise money for 10 kids to go to camp, which is a lot of money,
Which,
especially because
to
we're
be
going to
specific,
California.
is $5,000.
Yeah,
Like,
it is a
camp
ton
to
of
go,
money.
Camp for a kid is $500. So 10 kids, that's $5,000.
Yeah, and so I've done a little bit of work. I've put some stuff together. I haven't really got the wheels 100% turning yet, but I have people to work with. I have Parker and a few other kids have got the same card, but it's like a daunting task.
So you guys actually met up, and your goal is to kind of do it together and try to raise enough money to send 30 kids to camp. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I feel like it's easier if we all are bound together. We have more people, more time to just create stuff, and we can all use it as a shared.
So that's a way that maybe students could partner with you and give back monetarily in that, because
100%.
like, as much as we're talking about tithing, and I do believe there's a value in tithing for teenagers. Like, if you have a job, like, I do believe if you are a Christ follower, you should think about giving a tithe, because it's something that
Yeah.
God asked you to do. I mean, it's a trust piece. I'm going to give 10% and know that I can live off of 90. And
Yeah.
because God gave me this job, God gave me this money, I'm going to give back to him what's his.
I really like the trust aspect of
Yeah.
that. Like, that makes a lot of sense in my head.
But a lot of kids, like you said, don't have jobs.
Yeah.
So like, you don't have a steady income necessarily.
Yeah, but then I think at that point you should just kind of like, hey, I realize that I don't have an income, but I want to still be able to give, and kind of like create that, like, forming the habit, right? I think it's important to start somewhere, like, even if you don't have a job. But I mean, that's hard to say, especially in my scenario. I that's something I might have to challenge myself with.
But I think an easier step for students could be donations, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
raising
yeah,
for
yeah.
a cause specifically.
Yeah.
Were you guys here when we did, we raised money for Nevada suicide prevention back in like 2021 or 22?
Over COVID?
maybe? It was when we came back and we did our mental health series. And at the
Oh.
last week, we had offering boxes and we raised money. And we were actually able to give like a $6,000 check
Wow.
raised by students. And one of our partners at the church said we would match whatever you guys bring in.
Yo,
So
I
you
do
guys brought in
remember
like
that.
$3,000, and then they matched another $3,000. So we got to send out a check for
That's
$6,000 to suicide prevention. And I think that's one of the ways that students can be impacted through giving, right? That's a little easier for you guys than tithing.
Oh, 100%.
So,
I think it's interesting, though. This is just a completely random
Yeah.
thought, but a couple thoughts ago. I think, like, in my brain, how it works, you said, like, everyone should, and I agree with that. But I think when you are a new kid, if I was coming here and the first thing I was told was, hey, give me money, like, I would be a little bit, hey, let's not.
weird, right?
It's
Back
weird.
off.
So
it's weird, but when you understand, like, if I'm calling the Crossing my home, or I'm
Mhm.
calling whatever church my home, and I'm a Christ follower and I'm going to profess that, that's a piece that comes with it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So it's weird for like the new people, but it's also like for us who you've been around since, oh my gosh, what did we already said it? 2nd grade and 6th grade,
Mhm.
and I've been going to church literally my whole life.
So,
That's something that is kind of ingrained and should be ingrained in us, right, as Christ followers.
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, I do agree. But like when you get baptized, right? Like that's like I'm a Christ follower.
Yeah.
Like that's your public confirmation.
That's
Like
your
you
public
saying like right
declaration,
then
yeah.
someone's coming up to you with a clipboard and like here,
hey,
sign
so
this
what's
10%.
10% of your?
Yeah.
But that's the other thing is a lot of the giving piece comes from a heart attitude.
Mhm.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't tithe, and you can still be a Christian.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm allowed to say that because that's
Yeah.
like Jesus saved you. Like
Well, 'cause
Jesus
you're-
saved you. Your money giving doesn't save you.
Well, yeah, but you're growing. Like how I like to think about it is it's another step in growing closer to God.
It's
right? Like
transformation.
that's our whole
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So it is a next step in growing towards God. So I want to ask you guys this, and I didn't prepare you either of you for this.
Hooray.
If you could say to the students watching, when it comes to giving and money, what would be a challenge you would give them in order for those who are Christ followers to grow in this area?
Wow. That's a hard one.
That's a hard one. Kaylee,
That's
you
a
got an
hard
answer?
one.
We can go to you before Emerson.
You might have to say it one more time. You might have
Yeah,
to.
you gotta,
might
like,
have to say
repeat
it one
it.
more time.
So speaking to those watching,
Yeah.
what would you challenge them and say, you could take this step to grow farther and be transformed through Christ when it comes to giving?
Okay. I have an answer.
Emerson, everybody.
I think the first step is serving. I think that's because the old saying, time is money, right? Like I think that is a good way to just get into it. Just understand what it feels like to give, what it feels like to serve, and I think that can lead you into giving money. And And like you said, donations I think is a great option, especially if you're donating to me. Please donate to me.
We would love
help.
to see you partner with Emerson and send kids to camp. That actually, seriously, that's a great action step that is very tangible for you because it's you're doing a fundraiser. But when you pay for those kids to go to camp, you're not going to be like, well, Emerson, am paying for 10 kids to go to camp. No, because so many people partnered with you in that.
Oh, 100%.
And it's not just you. So that's other people taking that step as well. What would you say, Kaylee?
Yeah, I would say serving as well because it's just a great way to get connected and start giving back. And that's kind of why I started, just to like give back to the church that feels like home, honestly, and just like try to give back as much as I can. And then like donations and everything, like it just helps and it goes such a long way, especially like if it impacts you or like an organization like you really feel strongly about. I think that's also like really good.
That's good. And I'm gonna bounce off of both of those to close this out with a specific challenge. I've been giving specific challenges to you guys. First off, we're gonna be talking about serving next week. So make sure you check in. Serving selflessly. That's next week. We got some students who serve every weekend coming to talk to you about what that means. But when it comes to giving, I want to challenge those of you watching, those of you listening, you too, even right here. I'm gonna challenge you with this. So at the end of this series, the next week is going to be a one night. So it's our first one night of the year. And we are going to be doing a fundraiser for one of our partners to raise money. And just like we did for the suicide prevention, to be able to give back and give money to one of our local partners that we can help fund, that we as the Crossing and specifically the Crossing students can say, hey, we helped do that. So I would challenge both of you guys and anybody listening, be thinking and be prayerful about that. If that's something that you're ready to take that next step with God, that maybe it's like, I don't have an income, so I'm not going to start tithing yet. But you're like, I would like to take that next step of giving my money to something that is important. This could be that next step for you. This could be that transformation moment. This could be that growth moment for you. So be thinking about that, be praying about that, because that is going to come out about 3 weeks after this podcast does. So it'll be on September 20th at our one night event. So make sure you're thinking about that, praying about that. Emerson, Kaylee, thank you guys for chatting and talking about money. Emerson, good luck on your goals. I think I have like $1 in my pocket or something.
Please.
So
we
you
have
can throw that
$0
towards it.
so far.
You have $0?
$0.
If one of you wants to be the first donor, I can't guarantee you'll be the first donor. But if one of you wants to be the first donor to sending 10 kids, potentially 30 kids to camp, we'd love to have that. Talk to Emerson. We'll put his tags down here on the screen. No, we won't, but it's okay. We love you all. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you back next week for week 4. Serve selflessly.